What is up, everybody? We are back. I am George Mossey. Please say hello to my co-host, DeeDee. So, Seeking Brother Husband, Season 1, Episode 3 is aired. This is part 2 of the podcast, by the way, because there's just too much to not discuss about this show. So, I want to check in with Kim, Dustin, and Vincent because Kim spent some time with one of her friends, Brittany, who is also in the polyandry lifestyle, to discuss some of the issues going on in her relationship because we know that Vincent is 100% okay with Dustin, Kim, and Vincent as a unit. He's not okay with adding new people to this situation, which I can understand that. It's probably taken a lot for him to accept the fact that he's in this situation, this dynamic. So, and it's been years. So to add it and change it, it's just like, starting a new relationship or starting a new job or starting a new task. It's going to be something that's going to take you by surprise and by storm, and you don't know what it's going to entail. So Brittany decides that it might be a good idea to do a little exposure therapy. And I don't know, I always felt like exposure therapy is a little harsh. So they decide to have a party, and there's going to be a lot of polyandry lifestyle people attending this party. And they want Vincent to attend this party to just expose him to the lifestyle more because it's only been him, Kim, and Dustin. He hasn't really experienced a lot of other interactions with people in the polyandry lifestyle. So they feel maybe if he sees the interactions, he meets the people, he sees Kim interacting with other men, it's going to help. First thing in my mind was, this is not going to help. Like, he said that he's not okay with her talking to other men, interacting with other men, dating, sleeping with other men. So you want to expose him to her connecting with other men. And I was like, well, I don't see how that's going to help. But again, exposure therapy has been proven to help people in certain situations. So I can't discredit it because science speaks for itself. But in this situation, it was like torture for him. Watching her meet this guy, interact with him, plan to go on a date with him right in front of his face, it proved exactly what he feared. This type of lifestyle and the change, the dynamic that they've created is going to prove to be too much for him to handle. And he just doesn't want to be in a relationship where he doesn't feel his place is defined. He doesn't know where he fits into the situation when the dynamic is constantly in motion. It's constantly changing.
Exactly. And also, whenever they got into a relationship, she should have stood back a little bit and, realized what kind of relationship that she was getting into, because once again, he keeps bringing it up over and over and over again. He came out of really two bad failed marriages, and it continuously fights where he's feeling like he's not enough for anyone. And he should have thought about the same thing before he went into the relationship, because from what I understand, she made it very clear from the beginning that she would always want to find more partners. So taking him to this party where there's other polyandry couples, and then she's walking around and she's dancing and she's flirting. And then this one specific person, she's really clingy to him. And you could see like almost a connection. And he just walks off because he can't handle the fact of seeing someone he loves with someone else.
It's a natural thing too. And one thing that I've noticed that the guys have an issue with on the show is when the dynamic stays the same for many years before they change it. So like it happened with Kim, Dustin, and Vincent. They were the only three involved in this dynamic for I think a year and a half. And then now it's going to change. So it's a culture shock. And we kind of see it with Kenya, Tiger, and Carl, because Tiger has been the main guy for Kenya for 5 years. So it was never an issue, never a threat, never a problem with the polyandry lifestyle. It's when the woman decides to bring more people in is where the complications come into the situation. And I think it's a trying thing because a constant relationship, it doesn't seem like you're in a polyandry relationship when it's a constant. Like, you're the main guy. And did you notice that a lot of times there's a main husband that the wife spends so much time with? So you don't really feel like anything is threatened. Your position is threatened because you're getting all the attention. There is another guy there, but he's mostly for moral and other types of support. So you don't really feel that. And then the issue begins when that dynamic changes abruptly. And we've watched it happen in both of these situations. It's a very abrupt change. It goes from just that normal dynamic of the three of you to moving on to changing. And it's like, I don't think the guys were mentally prepared for that to happen, because it took years for that transition to happen. And you don't really feel like you're sharing someone when you get used to the constants in the situation. It's always the constant, the two guys and the one girl, and then you grow accustomed to that, and you feel that you've accepted that polyandry lifestyle, but it's not really polyandry when there's constant, the same familiar people in it. So it gets more complicated when they start bringing new people in. So I want to jump over to Kenya, Tiger, and Carl, because we found out on this episode that Tiger's parents are absolutely no-go for the wedding ceremony. They said that there's no way, and it's been 5 years. So Kenya's really hurt, because she's like, when are you going to accept me as your daughter-in-law? Your son clearly loves me. He's been with me for 5 years. We've been, I believe they've been exclusive, other than with Carl, like for 5 years. So she doesn't understand the purpose of a ceremony. And before Tiger can really voice his concerns about that, she makes this massive announcement. She says that she is going to be spending some time with her ex. Her ex's name is David, and he was the very first guy that she got involved with while married to Carl. This is way before Tiger, so this is like history. And he wants to spend time with her, and she's open to that. And Tiger feels that this is going to solidify the fact that he is no longer going to be the guy in her life. And he actually said, "You're going to fall out of love with me." And I actually agree with him, because she said that she always wants to be constantly dating, and she wants to have that new relationship feeling, kind of like the new car smell before a relationship. She's like, she craves that new attention. And I do get that. Like when you meet someone, it's always cloud nine when you first get together, and it doesn't always stay that way. And I know that's true. So I have to agree with Kenya. Like, no relationship is going to stay where you feel that way forever. But she said something on the episode that was interesting. She said, "I never break up or dump any of my guys." She's like, "I keep them in my life in some way, shape, or form." So that's the thing. That's what makes it polyandry. She never wants to cut ties with any of these guys. And even though it's been years since her and David have been interacting and physical together, he can still just pop up in her life and become that person again to her, because she feels like she still has ownership and stake in that relationship with him, even though he's been out doing his own thing. She's got 2 husbands, so I don't know if Tiger is going to stay in this situation, because there's 2 issues here. The ceremony that is important to him simply because he wants to know that he belongs to her and she belongs to him. It's not important to Kenya, and Kenya has made it so clear that there is no purpose or use for her to put her time and money into a ceremony, because they've been together for 5 years. And in her mind, she feels that's enough proof that you need that we're in a relationship. So do you feel like the ceremony is needed, or do you feel like that's a minor issue in this huge swarm of issues?
I feel like on Tiger's side, yes, it's very, very needed, because he feels like that she is just out there trying to replace him, because every time he brings it up, she knocks it down. She's like, "No, we're not doing it. Why are we even talking about this again? Whenever we do the ceremony, I want it to be my family, Carl's family, your family, so we can, unite, become as one." But that's never going to happen, because Tiger's family does not want any part of it. And Kenya, on Kenya's side, she is being very, very selfish, because he is willing, to be there, not only Carl, but Tiger, and then allow her to go out and date and have other partners. And all he's doing is asking for one simple ceremony. And she's being selfish. She's not taking his feelings in consideration, but she wants Carl and Tiger to take all of her feelings in consideration. It works both ways. There's no way it can't just be about Kenya. She has to, step back and say, "Okay, me and Carl are legally married. Then I bring in Tiger. It took Carl a process. And now Tiger, he's been the only one other than Carl. And now I'm going from one day to the next saying, okay, here I am. I'm fixing to bring in my ex. Now I'm looking for him to be a partner. But guess what? He's not going to be the last one. I'm going to want more partners. Like, come on, Kenya. How many partners do you want? I need to know. That is crazy. But yes, I think they should do the ceremony. I think Tiger deserves it. I really do. I mean, Carl even thinks so. Carl's even tried to talk Kenya into it, but she's just against it. I don't see where the family has to be there, honestly. As long as it's her, Carl, and Tiger, I think that should be enough.
Yeah, that's definitely sufficient. So I like the idea that Kenya saves money on therapy. So she has a fitness instructor who is also her therapist, and they talk about her relationships and everything. And I was like, see, that is so smart. When I'm trying to think of saving money, this is the type of tips that I need. Thank you, Kenya, for helping me out, because therapists are very expensive. So she gets her workout in, she gets to talk about her relationships, and she gets advice. I love that. And even Flex asked the same question as you. He was like, how many partners do you need? Like, what is this about for you? What's your end game? And like you said, it's never ending cycle of partners for her. And I think that Tiger's never going to be okay with the idea that it's a never ending cycle of partners. He wants to belong to someone. He wants a long-term relationship. And I don't know how much of a relationship it's going to be when she's constantly moving on to a new relationship, because that feeling of new is what she loves. You know how some people lease a car every 2 years because they got to have that brand new car. They got to have the new iPhone. Kenya is like that, but with men. It has to be brand new. The relationship needs to be new. She loves the new compliments. She loves the attention, because when the relationship is new, the guy is on his best behavior. He's treating you the best he's ever going to treat you. You're the apple of his eye. You're everything going on in his life at that moment. And unfortunately, as human beings, we lose interest in things, not to the point where we don't want them, but we don't court women as much as we do. Once you get that woman, the courting process ends, and then you just begin, your partnership. Kenya doesn't like the partnership part. She is more interested in the courting process. And I don't think Tiger is going to be able to deal with the constant courting process, because it's never going to end. Kenya said herself, this is never going to stop. She's always going to keep dating. There's never going to be a time where she's settled down and ready to stay with one guy. So I think Tiger is going to have to decide what's important for him and just make a decision for him. Because when it comes to Kenya, Kenya's going to always choose Kenya at the end of the day. And Tiger is going to have to choose Tiger. And that's going to be the only way he's going to get his way. And unfortunately, it might mean ending this polyandry situation for him, because he's looking for something specific and Kenya's looking for something specific. They're just two different things.
Well, if you listen every time that Flex asked her a question about bringing on new partners, she kept saying, over and over again, well, they don't satisfy me sexually. She said a couple of times that Tiger no longer, satisfies her sexually, like she wants to be satisfied. And then we already know that her and Carl is, they have to be in a mutual agreement, so, and then she was telling Flex also that even when he goes to the gym, whenever he goes to the gym and a girl, shows him attention, even though he has his wife, that's a awesome feeling. That's a new feeling. And she wants to have that all the time. But Tiger is never gonna, I don't think he would ever come to an agreement or be okay with her bringing on other partners, as long as she's not listening to his needs, to his concerns, and to his feelings. I don't see it working out either. It's when you're in a relationship, especially in a multiple partner relationship, all of you have to be on the same page. And if you're being greedy and it's all about me, I mean, where are you going to end up? You're going to end up by yourself, because you didn't think about or care about anyone else other than yourself.
I think it would just be easier for Kenya to be single, because she could always be looking for that new guy, and then there wouldn't be any feelings involved if everyone was open and understood what was going on. That's my take on it. All right, guys, we ran out of time again. All right, guys, I'm George Mossey. Thank you so much to my co-host DeeDee. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms at George Mossey, georgemossey.com, anywhere you get your podcast. We'll talk to all of you guys really soon.